Okay. Hello, hello. Yeah, can you hear all? Oh, yes. Amazing. So, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And today, I'm here to talk about like something that's really kind for me. Like, I really like this subject about commit messages. And the name is like Decoding Legacy because it's always like we have this connotation about legacy as, oh, it's bad code, it's there forever, it's really ancient. And for me, it's like decoding legacy as it's our legacy, what we leave in the company, right? But have you ever been in this place that you're in the room and then you're in the computer and then you're looking around and you see like some piece of code that you can't understand and you're like, wait, but why did they do this? And this happens a lot when you're like debugging or when you're doing some legacy stuff, and it's like, but okay, wait a minute, we use Git here. Perhaps I can take a look on the Git message, and then you have this frustration of fix bug, and you're like, come on. It was 2019, like we already had like some ideas of how to do it better, right? But this talk is not about atomic commits, so I will not talk about that. Also, I will not talk about like really advanced Git tricks that how you can be like, I don't know, 10 times faster on that. If you wanted to learn more about how to be better on Git or how to be a power user on Git, Juliet's talk was amazing. I think like you should have been there, but if you were not there, but it's really good because like you can do a lot with Git. But today we're going to talk about commit messages, and actually we're going to talk about how are their consequences in the history of your software. Like your software tells a history, right? But first of all, like, let me introduce myself. So I'm Airton. I work for Temper right now, and I've been around like 9 to 10 years, having some problems with commit messages and not understanding what they were being said. Also, something really interesting is that like the Dutch PHP conference was my first conference in the Netherlands that I came to visit, and I was like, oh, look, it's a really nice conference. And then I interviewed and I got hired here, and 5 years later, I'm still here. Anyways, just a little anecdote for you. But about 10 years ago, I was learning about Git. I never used any other kind of version control system. And when I learned about these commands, like, oh, I know everything about Git. I got this like commands and I put in my toolbox, and I was like going around and saying like, hey, I know how to do software. I know how to do this. It's amazing. Come on, Git log. I know how to look behind and see what's happening there. And then what I actually thought that version control was for, it was like just me in my desk and lots like of post-its of like, oh yeah, we did this here, we did that there, we did this here. And when I needed to go back and ask like, oh, what did we do here? I couldn't remember, because actually when like I started to learn a little bit more about version control and why do we use that, I saw this quote from GitLab that I really liked, that they say that it facilitates coordination, sharing, and collaboration, and then enables teams distributed and asynchronous in distributed and asynchronous environments, and manages changes and versions of code. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I learned that like we need to have a title and a description, and then like there's so much power there. But this is what I did. Added new model. Like, yeah, that's what I don't know. And wasn't that good enough? Like, you can understand what I did. Like, what the hell? I added a model. That's amazing. That was 2014, by the way. But those were my commit messages after that. And I was like, yeah, I know about Git. I'm really good about that. And then, like, yeah, that's not really good. Like, when you look back, you're like, come on, what have I done here? I really don't understand. Like, this is actual commits from 2014 that I did, and for a company. And if you take a look here, it's 2 months difference from one commit to the other. What the fuck I was doing? Like, what did it take 2 months for me to do? Like, that was my only project that I was working on. It took 2 months for me to commit and finish the implementation. Like, if someone goes there right now and they're like, oh yeah, let me see what Airton did here, it's going to be really hard for them to understand. So 1 year passed, I learned some stuff, but I continue to do this kind of stuff here. Connection to OO. Like, okay, we all know like oriented objective orientation and etc. But yeah, like, it's not that better. Like, I learned some stuff, but today I can really understand like that I didn't leave a good legacy for that company. Like, if they go there and if they look around to see like what did Airton did here, it's like, okay, I can look at the code and perhaps that's going to be enough, but perhaps not. So a while after that, I joined a new company. And I was like, yeah, hello, everyone. And when I joined this new company, it was really important for me because I went to, like, I'm from Brazil, so I was in a small town, and I moved to São Paulo. It's like a big city, like big projects, big companies. And this was like one of the companies that was like a competitor of Uber, and we were doing like kind of well. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, so yeah. But anyways, I learned about Garrett there. And when I learned about Garrett, it was really interesting because the culture of the company was 100% around Garrett. And for you who... No. A little bit more there? Yes? No. Rafael, can you hold this? Oh, it's working? It's working? Okay, amazing. Yeah? Don't move anyone. Stop breathing the first row, please. Okay. But for you that don't know Garrett has this really old kind of AI, but it's really nice because you can actually come here and you say like, hey, I want to do a comment on your commit message. And that was the first time that I got my commit message revealed, and it was really weird because the person said to me like, what the fuck are you doing here? I can't understand. And I was like, but you can look at the code. Yeah, but 10 years from now, like 5 years from now, will you understand your code? Like, is this code well structured in the way that people will understand why you did this? And this is the most important part, the why. So in this company, I learned some other stuff, Git blame, in which I was talking to Andreas today, and I was like, oh, today, Git blame is not really good. It should be like, okay, yeah, Git show who did this, or Git, I don't know. But we are not blaming the people. But rebase and merge, I was like using mostly merge in this time. But then when I went to look at the code, at the commit messages from this company, I saw like really interesting ones. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I think I found like some gold here, because I can understand, like, for example, this, added a script to delete negative endorse skills. Like, oh, why we're doing this? And then we have, like, why we are doing this. Oh, we found some issues on the endorsement skills, so that's why we are deleting it. Perhaps they should have even added, like, why they are doing this, like, in the sense of what was the issue. But I can understand that they had some problem, like meaning negative endorsements that should be not saved as. So if a client endorsed a user, will you endorse them as negative? So never as positive. So this is really interesting because, like, if we take a look right now on that, I can understand why a script was added to delete that and what, like, was the context of that time. And the culture of this company was really interesting because we always, like, we had a manager that he always said, like, try to answer those questions when you're creating a commit message. And it's like, what was changed, what problem this commit solves, and why, and this is the most important one, why are we changing this piece of code? And another one that's really good for like the title of the commit, and then the person gonna take a look on that and see like, oh, this is really what it's happening. It's like, if you try to complete this phrase, it's like, if applied, this commit will do this, and then do this in a really imperative way, like an order, because that's how Git talks to you. Git's gonna say like, merge, revert, So this is how Git actually works a little bit. And this is what we had in that company in that time, should be reviewed just as another piece of code. So this was really interesting for me because I started to get code reviews on my commit message, and I was really like struggling. And this is like the one that I did on 2014, the added model. And when I learned that I need to have the what on the title and the why in the body, I was like, oh, so if I'm logging invalid emails link activation attempt, I can say, like, why am I doing that? Like, oh, we are logging because we don't understand what's happening there, and it appears that some links are being generated with invalid status already. Like, okay, so if someone comes back to that and they say like, oh, but why were they logging this? Like, this should be working out of the box or something like that. Perhaps this is not a good like explanation about how the importance happens, but I'm gonna get there. I also learned some other stuff that's like, mostly this part here is the one more important for me right now. Like, I use this like in the daily basis, and that was mostly what Juliet's talk was like, really like about. That's like git add -p. That changed my life, dude. Like, this is amazing. How you can like just add some small lines of code to your trunk, and then after that you can commit only that part. It's amazing. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about Git tricks. I told you that. And your software tells a story. So like right now, if you go back to your company like on Monday and you start like looking backwards, hey, what was the story 5 years ago? Sometimes it's really hard for us to read. And right now, it's actually like our legacy of our work that we are doing, right? So if we are working in this company and 5 years from now, like something happens, like will they be able to understand what I did today? Because right now I'm working in a company that like we have code from 2017, 2015, something like that. Sometimes it's just fix code, fix that, fix this. And it's really hard for me to understand some stuff. And if you, like, this is the thing, right? So like it's gonna be a story that you and others can understand, and this is like really important as well, because you're human, you're gonna forget about stuff. And, or it can be this as well, right? Dear programmer. Now, like, you don't want to put like more hours here, like, yeah, it's gonna be 300 hours now. This is really hard because we need to think like, this is kind of like a backup. I really like that Juliet said that like branches are like saving points on your game of like coding, because you can go back, you can come like, right? And it's really hard for you to go back if you don't understand what was there. Like, oh yeah, it's about like, I don't know, adding a model. Great. But this is really funny because it's like backup, right? No one thinks it's important until it is. So like when you are having an incident and then, I don't know, your API is not responding and something is happening really badly, and you're like, okay, wait, I think this is the comments that caused that, and you go there and it's fix or address comments. I hate that one, address comments. Oh my God. Anyways, sorry. But we always say that we're going to write the documentation, but we never do, actually, right? It's really hard for like, when we think about our day-to-day job, it's like, okay, I'm writing code, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then when it actually arrives to the point that we are, oh, I'm going to leave something for the future, I'm going to leave something for the other people to understand, sometimes we don't do that. And I really like this quote from a book called A Story of the World, from this guy, Andrew Marr, that he says that, like, for most of the history, all we have left are accidental remains, the things that could not rot or that could somehow survive the sandpapering of time. And this is actually true about, like, if you go to think about Coliseum, for example, it's like, okay, it's there, nice. People didn't think about, oh, let me preserve this building for the future. Then it's going to be a really nice place for people to visit and tourists in Italy, right? It's not like that. It's just kept there. But actually, we can actively track the changes that we do. We, as software engineers, we can think about, like, oh, okay, I have this pain of not understanding this piece of code, or I have this pain right now. How can I make better decisions for the future people not having the same pain, right? And learning the context brings lots of empathy. And I really like what Raphael said about sometimes, like, on the sense of, like, Raphael's looking like, what? What did I say? But there are some companies that they have, like, all their channels private, and then it's like, but why they are not open? Why they, like, developers should be able to come here and there? And I think the most thing is, like, because of lack of empathy. Like, I don't care how you write your code. I just care that, like, we can communicate and we can understand each other, right? So the idea of us keeping track of our current stuff that we are doing, it's for us to look at this and, like, process orders with worker. Like, okay, what is that? Like, I don't know. But then, like, if you take a look on one of those, then you're like, oh, due the increase of the number of orders, some incidents are happening often while clients are waiting to receive the confirmation page. So we are creating this worker to run every 10 minutes in a replica because, like, and process depending orders. When I look at that, I'm like, okay, so perhaps they had some issues with the database. Like, perhaps they had some issues with, they couldn't handle the amount of requests that they were getting. So I can be empathetic about my peers from the past, even though if I didn't met them. Because this is super hard. Sometimes, like, have you ever went to a new company, and they're like, oh, this shit, it's really bad code, come on. This happens a lot. And then you're, like, kind of pointing to the people from the past, saying, like, oh, these people don't know how to write code. And, well, perhaps they needed to do that. Perhaps they didn't have, like, and this is how you create empathy for the people in the future. So, but you can say, like, oh, it's too much. But let's start simple. Like, you don't need to do, like, all the things all in the first place. Like, start just like, oh, there's no strict definition of an ideal commit message. Talk to your peers. Think like, oh, what do you think is a good one? And then you can create consensus or not, and then, like, at least you're like, okay, so our team is going to do it this way. I'm sorry, like, your team can do it that way, but then these people on the other team are going to see you doing that way. Perhaps they're going to start doing that as well. Another thing that is really important is, like, indicate the logical change. So it can be a feature, it can be a bug fix, it can be... So when you try to be, like, imperative, it's more like, oh, it fix a bug, like fix bug, like do an order, like add this, add that, because then it's going to be easier for the people to understand. And if you can't describe the change, try to break it down. Then it's going to be good for you to take a look on atomic commits and understand a little bit about that, because like no one wants to reveal 100 files, right? There are some stuff that can help you, like convention commits. I learned about this other one that is committing. It's a really random GitHub repository that I found, and they do some help. I liked it. I don't know. I tested it a little bit. It was a little bit okay. But we can also have some resistance, right? Like sometimes you go to your peers and you say like, hey, what do you think about that? Like, no, I like my add fixes. I like my add comments. And then you're like, address comments, sorry. Or they can also say, oh, but I write a self-documented code. People from the future are going to understand this. Look at this. This is amazing. And is it though? Like, if you add, like, I don't know, sometimes I see that some people like add lots of comments on the code saying, like, really explaining what it's doing. I can just go there and delete that and do a comment as remove comment, and then it's gone. Like, people will not know that. If you have that in Git, they can go to history. They can understand that. They can see the differences. And this is really important. And legacy code, I don't know if someone went to James' talk today. He said something that I really liked. That was like, it's not legacy code, it's existing code. Like, this is what we work every day. Like, this is what pays our bills, right? So we are getting money because we are working with legacy code, and we are writing legacy code for the future. This is okay. We shouldn't be afraid of legacy. We shouldn't be afraid of this. But we should care about how we do things for the other humans. This is all the key, right? The empathy, for me, is the key. But then we can also have a point that we see the others, they are not doing a good commit message. Like, they don't care about that. And then we have the broken window theory. Like, if the people are not doing, why will I do it? So then you start like, okay, I'm just gonna like write one paragraph of my commit message. And then you're like, oh, damn it, no one cares about that. And then you just go and you write just one sentence on the commit title. And then, actually, people don't really care about that. And then you just go and, yeah, fix bug, address comments, and you go over and over and over. Probably you already saw this quote somewhere. Any fool can write code that a computer can understand. Good programmers write code that humans can understand. I tried something different. I'm not like so knowledgeable as Martin Fowler, but any fool can use a version control. It's really easy. But good programmers try, and this is the biggest thing, because in the future, perhaps tomorrow, they're gonna have, I don't know, AI that is reading your brain, understanding why you're changing this code. I don't know, like, but this is just sci-fi. It won't happen. But try to help the people in the future to understand the current context. Because the current context is why you're changing things. Like, it's why you need to do things. So commit messages are usually forgotten because they really look at that and they're like, no one cares about this. Who's going to read 3 paragraphs of like why this happened, this, here? I understand. Sometimes it's like people will not read that. But remember, it only, I forgot what I actually wrote, but it's only important when it happens to be. And when it happens to be, it's so helpful to have this there. So next time that you do a commit, like, I don't know, take 2 to 3 minutes. take care of it. Like, look at that and say like, what did I do? And then you look at your computer, stay there for a while, like, okay, so this is it. So I know what I did, and then I look again, and it's like, but why did I do it? And like, let me see. Okay. The PM asked for this. This is not an answer. This is not an answer. Go there and figure it out. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this change? And then you're going to thank yourself in the future. I'm sure of that. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to me. Like, I really like this topic, and if you have any questions, I'm here for it. I think we have one there. Oh, one there. Oh my God. But if you want to put your cardio on, that's also good.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Great talk about the topic.
Thank you.
My question is, what is your opinion on squashing commits before merging?
This is interesting. I had a slide for that. And I had also an AI-generated photo for that. That right now we use that. Right now we do use that at our company. And some days ago, I did a merge for a friend that he said like, hey, if you think it's everything good, you can approve and merge it. And I was like, oh, of course, it's a simple change, I can do it. 2 weeks ago, someone tagged me saying like, hey, Airton, you changed this code. Please, can you fix it? And I was like, what is that code? What? And then because the author like changed to me and to him, like I was also like part of that commit. And I was like, no, wait, but I didn't write that. But of course I can help. So when you do squash in your local and you're like, okay, like I'm trying to figure out what's going to be there, what's not going to be there, I think it's really good. When it's before merging to main, this is really hard. Like I think you need to be really disciplined to put actually like what you mean from the other stuff. Because otherwise it's like a friend telling a story to another friend, right? They are telling a story of myself to another friend, and they are like missing all the context and missing all the details that actually are important. So I would say that you should try to see like if the people are disciplined enough to do that, that's like to actually add this there. It's really good. I love rebase, but I think like if you don't care about the tree being a little bit dirty, go for merge commits, merge commits, because at least they're gonna have the context there. They're gonna have like there's like at least that. But yeah, hopefully this answers your question. I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
The next question is over here. Thanks a lot for your inspiring talk. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I'm a mild advocate of having issue numbers from, for instance, Jira or GitHub in the commit message.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that? Is it a good thing to do, or is it a better approach into storing the original issue number in the commit message?
One problem for me is that like in that part that I said, hey, my code is self-documented. People can also use that as, hey, but the context is in the Jira ticket. And then you like kind of don't write stuff there, but then I've done like that company that I said like, oh, I learned a lot here. We changed issue trackers 3 times. We were using Jira, and then we went to Clubhouse, and then we went to, I don't know, I don't remember the name of the other one. But it was like, because we were cutting costs. And then in the third one, I was so happy that, oh, we have everything in our commits. Some people also say that like we should, I think in our current company we do it, and I think it's okay for some people to be like, oh, at least it's there. Like, oh, that's okay.
Like it's a backup, but not as a
exactly.
source of information.
But if it's a backup, if it's like, it's gonna eat a little bit of your space on your commit title, but I think it's like, if your peers are comfortable with that and they prefer that way, like I think it's, go for it.
Cheers, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Cool, everyone. Any more questions? No? Thank you a lot for being here with me. And if you have feedback, the QR code is for that. Thank you. Nice.